also going to be broadcasting, as we are right now, to the YouTube channel. And the guidelines here for our discussion is it's shared learning. And we're looking for a collaboration done by open communication. So everyone's comments are very welcome, and as well as active participation. So everyone's tuned in. It's great to see you guys on your webcam, and we'll share our thoughts and questions throughout. So now we're at about the time to enter our icebreakers. So David, if you could kindly put the group into breakout rooms and take note of the questions here. You can use this to, actually, David, do you want to do breakout rooms, or maybe we can just do it here if we still have maybe 5 people joining us? Usually
yeah, probably we can do it, yeah, here.
Okay, I agree. Okay, any volunteers? Anyone want to give this a shot before we voluntold someone?
Yeah, I can give it a shot.
Okay,
hi
Kuze.
everyone, I'm Kuzey and I'm a project management student at George Brown, and I'm attending this event since last year, and it's very like valuable for me to like learn about my future profession, and also like not getting to know very nice people here has been very good, especially during the pandemic times where it's very harder to make networks. So from those questions, my dream vacation would probably be any kind of vacation will be a nice dream for me. But I'm kind of a foodie, so any place that the cuisine is different to me would be a very good vacation point for me. And yeah, country-wise, I've never been in South America before because it was always so far from me. But right now I'm in Canada, so it's way easier to go there. So probably that would be the priority. And yeah, these are my shots.
Thank you, Kuzi. We got 2 for 1 there. Gave us 2 questions like that. And nice to learn a little bit more about you. Any other volunteers to take a shot on any of these questions?
All right, I'll go. So I guess all these faces are familiar. A couple of new people here. So I've been attending this session since we started like 3 or 4 sessions back. I previously also volunteered and taught these sessions for 2 years. This was until I guess 2019 or so. Really enjoy being part of this group. Coming to dream vacations, let me pick that one as well. I think right now with the bright sunlight falling on my face and the weather being excellent, it's like 23 degree, 25 degree here. I think I can do with a vacation locally in the US itself. Any place, I guess, at this point of time where it's warm, be it Louisiana, southern side of the country. It's been quite some time since I visited New Orleans, for example. So that comes to my mind. Enjoying the weather, enjoying the food, as Kuzey said. Those are the things that you really look forward to when you are on a vacation, laid back.
Thank you, Pratik. Yes, definitely envy your sunshine there, but it's getting a little bit warmer here in Toronto. Any other volunteers?
Yeah, I will go. My name is Roxana. I have been attending this group like maybe 3 or 4 times this year. I would like to attend it more times because it's something not new for me, but I like to learn and get some skills and get some advices from you. In terms of vacation, yes, I would like to go to Europe. I only been once, but this time what is my dream vacation? I would like to go to Switzerland. And yeah, I'd like to continue attending these workshops, LPMN. And also I'm looking to be a volunteer because it's another way how can I participate and collaborate with the group. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosanna. Glad to hear that you want to volunteer as well. From the
Yeah.
lpmn.ca website, you can sign up there if you're not already a member. And then from there, let them know that you want to be a volunteer. And I can also talk to the board and let you know that you're interested. So if you message me on the Zoom chat, you can direct message me with an email address. I can pass that along to the board, and then they can get in contact with you as well.
Okay, good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other volunteers?
I can volunteer, Andrew.
Okay, go ahead, Radhika.
My name is Radhika. I see some new faces today. I'm an IT project manager with a pharmaceutical organization, 116-year-old organization in Canada. If I have to pick a question, I have discussed about my dream vacation before. So I'll pick up, if money were not money was not a consideration, how would I spend my days? So I'm a strong believer that knowledge is power. And if I had free cash flow, I would definitely attend all the paid sessions that are happening across the globe when it comes to learning. So that'll be my opportunity to grab as much wisdom as I can in a lifetime. So that'll be one thing. Apart from the dream vacation, I am very fond of Egypt because of its rich culture. So that'll be one place I would look forward to visit post-pandemic. Thanks.
Thank you, Radhika. And great idea, continuing learning for sure. I'm sure we're all interested in that, being that we're in a study group. And I think we all have vacations on our mind. So thank you for that. Any other volunteers? I think Marcelo, you're the last to go.
Hi, I volunteer. Andrew, do
Hi,
you hear
Eugene.
me? Hi,
Yes,
good to
loud
see
and
you
clear.
again. Well,
Likewise.
I have been attending the session since the last year. This year is my first session for this year. For that reason, I say you Happy New Year. The question is, if you could only travel to one another country, which should you choose? I think I will choose Spain. I would like to have a vacation at the south of Spain, eating food and enjoying the weather and all the customs and festivals they have, especially in Andalusia. Definitely, that is my dream vacation also. Thank you.
And thank you, Euclid. You reminded me of my trip to Barcelona.
That's good.
Back in, I think it was 2016.
How can we forget about the Tomatina festival? Has anybody? Tomatina, sorry.
La Tomatina.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's a bucket list for most of us. If somebody is fond of good skin, tomatoes are the best source of vitamins. So, yeah.
I have been in Sevilla only.
Thank you. Okay, Carlos, I see you've joined also. Do you want to introduce yourself and pick up one of the questions?
Hello, everyone. This is Carlos. I'm pretty much new to the group, so thank you for inviting me. I'm from Chile. I'm here in Canada anyways, but just arriving a couple of weeks ago. I had some troubles connecting, so let me just take a look to the questions. Describe your dream vacation if you could travel to other country. Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, for me, one of the more fascinating countries is China. That will be my place to go, definitely. Reason why is because I believe Asian cultures in general, they have a huge advantage, too much history compared with the Western side of the world. So what not going there? So that's why I will spend probably a couple months visiting China.
Thank you, Carlos. Yes, definitely a lot of history from China and one of the ancient wonders of the world, the Great Wall.
Absolutely.
Okay, thanks for that. Good icebreaker. And now on to our topic of the evening, Agile project management. So we're going to go over the values and the principles and talk about some of the frameworks as we have done in the past. But then we're also going to this evening do something new. And that's going to be a comparison between traditional project management and agile project management. And we'll do this for the next half hour or so. So in terms of values, some of you may be familiar with this, some of you may not be, but as a refresher, the four values are individuals and interactions over processes and tools. Second one, working software over comprehensive documentation. The third one, customer collaboration over contract negotiation. And the fourth one, responding to change over following plan. And when you see those contrasting values, it's typically looking at agile over the traditional project management. And not saying to discount one over the other, but rather that there's a preference for one over the other. And with the agile principles, there's 12 of them. So first one being highest priority on customer satisfaction and continuous delivery of valuable software. Second one, changing requirements, even late in development. Agile processes harness change for customers' competitive advantage, so the scope is open, not fixed. Third one, delivering working software frequently. So that goes with the framework being iterative as opposed to the waterfall, which has phases. And this can happen from a couple of weeks to a couple of months. Business, and number four, business people and developers must work together daily throughout the project. Difference here between a company that works more traditionally is you'll have functional units over a cross-functional team, or if you have a projectized team where everyone is working more collaboratively. Number five, build projects around motivated individuals. So give them the environments and support they need and trust them to get the job done. Number six, the most efficient and effective method of conveying information is face-to-face conversation. Number seven, working software is a primary measure of progress. Number eight, agile processes promote sustainable development. Sponsors, developers, and users should be able to maintain constant pace indefinitely. And that's where sprinting comes along. Number nine, continuous attention to technical excellence and good design enhances agility. And in this case, you can have reviews, acceptance criteria, definition of done and ready, and so on, coming out of Scrum. Number 10, simplicity. The art of maximizing the amount of work not done is essential. And that's where you have from your product backlog, a sprint backlog where you commit a small amount of work. Number 11, the best architectures, requirements, and designs emerge from self-organizing teams. So empowering the team as opposed to taking direction. And 12, at regular intervals, the team reflects on how to become more effective, then tunes and adjusts its behavior accordingly. So something like a retrospective. So within those values and those principles, 4 values and 12 principles, we come across over the past several decades, 40 plus agile frameworks. The more popular ones that I'm sure you've heard of, Scrum, Kanban, which is coming out of Lean. There's also Extreme, where is it?
Extreme programming. Yeah.
And thank you. And something for larger organizations that have come about, scaled agile, framework safe, less large scale Scrum, and Lean startup, considering the business side of experimenting minimal viable products. So there's quite a bit, and we're going to zoom in on 2. The one is going to be about the Scrum framework, and the second one is going to be about Kanban. I'm hearing some background noise. If you could go on mute while the presentation goes on, and then we'll have the go retro where everyone can share their comments. Thank you. Okay, so with Scrum, what we have here, first off, on the top left corner, are the key roles. So we have the Scrum Master, who's facilitating the ceremonies. We have the product owner, who is responsible for the scope of what needs to be done, and the Scrum team members who are deciding how the work is going to be done. The process is you start with the product vision, typically coming or being explained by the product owner, which then is broken down into epics and user stories, similar to how in traditional project management, you would have a work breakdown structure. And we can go into more comparisons later on in the presentation. And then you have your iterative cycle here, where you plan for a sprint, which is time box, you execute or you sprint. And at the end of your sprint, you review what work was completed, consider the challenges, issues, risks, remaining stories that would then go back into the backlog, and then plan for a next sprint. There's also a retrospective where the team is able to reflect. This is a meeting that is built around psychological safety. So people are encouraged, and the Scrum Master is responsible for ensuring that the team is safe for speaking freely and not having to worry about any repercussions from upper management or people taking things the wrong way because of team values and guidelines that have been established from the beginning. And there's a few other items to consider from Scrum. So a burn down chart measures your progress. An impediment log carries your blockers or your challenges or risks. And then a daily Scrum is the stand-up where you're able to have that continuous awareness and communication of what's going on and who needs help. The other Agile framework here is Kanban, and Kanban is coming from Lean. And the difference between Scrum and Kanban is less process heavy. So it's more lighter and easier to implement. And it's a visualized management tool or system, in that you want to have your Kanban board with different statuses to show the stories that are in them. And then that way you can visually count if one status has a lot of work over another. And it's not so much a matter of time boxing work like Scrum is, but rather of workflow. And so there's some comments here essentially saying what I just mentioned. So it does still have a backlog of items to do, and then you enter them into the statuses, and you manage it with work in progress limits, which can limit how many items are entered in depending on how big your team is and any other types of considerations in terms of dependencies. And this is just continuously going on, and when items are done, you can move them off the board and archive them as well. So that is Kanban. And one other thing I'd want to mention before we move into the comparison of traditional project management and Agile project management is just a comparison between Scrum and Kanban. Scrum is used for, let's say, software development, as there is a need for iterative work and for the iterative work to emerge over time. Whereas Kanban, it's more for service-related work. So ad hoc requests that come up at any given moment, and you can, from a backlog, enter them in, and whoever's available to start working on it will work on it. And at that point, once it's done, you move on. It can get a little bit more complex from there, but that is the basis of Scrum, the difference of Scrum and Kanban. Okay, I hope if you had any questions, you're taking note, because at the Go Retro, we'll take them up. We're going into the second part of the presentation, which is traditional versus Agile project management. So here we're going to do comparisons, first off, about the methodology and the framework approach. So with traditional project management, it it's about upfront planning. So in the planning phase, after initiation, you're looking to have a baseline of your triple constraints. So of your scope, of your schedule, of your budget. You want to have your different project plans established. And this is all up front. And then, of course, as you know, you execute and monitor and control as you progress through your project. This is best used in predictive and mature businesses or organizations. Practical uses would be in a highly standardized industry, such as aerospace, where you don't want to kind of guess your way through what you're building. You have regulatory or safety standards to meet and to test, and those need to be understood well in advance. The Agile framework focuses on iterative planning, so it emerges with what the product initially is at the beginning, and then it evolves as you iterate more, and you do more planning, creating, reviewing, and then releasing. And this is best used for adaptive projects in emerging markets. So practical use would be commercial products such as a software or a car, in that you have an initial model, but then you have incremental improvements, whether it's on the safety bag, the crash bag, airbag is what I meant to say, or in the rear view camera that helps with parking. Those incrementally you have added on features to an existing product. And one other thing to note here is that the project timeline, from the start to the end, you'll have phases here. And within the Agile project framework, it's essentially going to utilize the same amount of time to get to a final outcome. However, there's shorter cycles to get releases so that a value has been provided to the customer or to your client. Whereas you have to wait till the very end of the product timeline before the customer or client can see a final outcome. So next, we'll talk about triple constraints. Within project management, as we've been studying in our previous study groups, triple constraints are typically 3 of the knowledge areas that we've covered. And with traditional project management, as mentioned, you have the baseline, which is established in your planning phase. And you are able to control it with PCRs. So, and it's over here on the bottom of this image. It's a little fuzzy, but hopefully you can read out that of the triangle here, features, which is essentially scope, is at the top, and it's fixed. So it's fixed with the intent that when you have a sponsor sign off on your project charter and ultimately on your project management plan, the idea is that the project has a beginning and an end, and you deliver what you stated in both artifacts. And you are allowed to make changes with a PCR, but it's typically incremental changes, and you're not drastically going to change the project, otherwise the project's just canceled. So that's why it's fixed. What is variable or can change is the time, and it typically does. Of course, you have a deadline, but you could potentially arrive early, or you can be late. And of course, the role of the project manager is to make sure that you deliver on time. PCRs can also account for any changes in schedule, especially if you've allotted schedule buffer in your timeline. And then last is the cost. Again, cost, when you have a budget and it's approved and you're working in a company that has a fiscal budget, that can be seen as fixed as well. And definitely when it's approved through the gating of a project. However, with PCRs, you can look to pull from contingency, which in a way is somewhat fixed because you planned it up front, as well as your management reserve, which also would technically be fixed because it's available from what budget is already existing. However, there is the opportunity to change it. So it's seen as variable. And then quality, from your quality management plan, I'll use software as an example. You can have different severity defects. Some are high, some are low. And in order to pass on what you're building on the project, you can have some remaining defects if they're on a low enough significance or impact toward the project. Alternatively, now looking at Agile, the triple constraints is flipped, where scope is the variable. It is open. And quality is a lot more rigorous. And time and cost are seen as fixed. So starting with the features, because you have a product backlog, whatever items are in there, you can remove them, you can add new ones, and you're typically only going to get detailed at the top of the product backlog. The items or stories nearer to the bottom will probably be a lot more vague and not broken up as much until they reach to the top, and then you're able to split them into smaller incremental stories. What's fixed within the Agile approach is time. So you're time boxed, and your sprint can be 1 week, 2 weeks, a month. This is decided at the beginning when you're starting your Agile project, and it's set. You don't want to change the duration of the sprint once you start sprinting. Cost as well is fixed to the extent that you will have a budget stream available, and because technically or theoretically you have fixed team members, you're going to have a consistent cost toward an Agile project. And essentially, if you're a existing company with a product, if you're not getting products back, if customers aren't buying the product, you run out of money, then your product is no longer available on the market, and it is usually brought to the end of a life cycle. So an example of this would be phones. Phones now are almost every year getting newer models, if not every other year. And I think of Apple and Samsung. In those numbers that they're introducing, that's the S20 now, I think. They're not producing the previous models, so the money that's coming in is based on the newer product, and so the business needs to keep coming up with new products to then keep generating new interest and to have customers continue to purchase. So if you have any questions about the way the triple constraints is outlined here, please note them and we'll add them in the Go Retro. So project management skills. This one is a bit open for discussion in terms of what it takes for a Scrum Master versus a project manager. This is set within the knowledge areas, so that's why I say it's a bit of an open discussion, because we're looking at this through the lens of a project manager, not through the lens of a Scrum Master within an Agile organization. So I just want to give that clarification first. However, it does give a way to look across the bridge and to bridge between the two professions. So first off, I'd like to bring everyone's attention to the top part of the circle here with stakeholders, procurement, and integration. So one key difference from a project manager to a Scrum Master is that the project manager is looking to integrate everyone that's required for a project into the project, whereas a Scrum Master, their responsibility is to protect the pod, and a pod size is typically 7 plus or minus 2 people. So if you only have 7 people on your team and you're a Scrum Master, those are the only people that you're going to be really focusing on. Of course, you can work with the umbrella layer when you're escalating risks, talk to the coach, work with the PO, and if you have any chief product owners, you can sit on a Scrum of Scrums, which is just a joint ceremony with the other stakeholders, but primarily your focus is with pod. Project manager, if you're in a big organization, I come from TD Bank, so there are multiple departments that a project works with. They're functional in their purpose, so you're looking to get hardware, you're working with a cloud team, you're working with different lines of businesses that they themselves will have well over 50, 100 people, a couple hundred people. And so it ranges well above typical 7 plus or minus 2 people. So that's one main difference, procurement. Procurement is not something that a Scrum Master would be involved in at all. Contract negotiation, if you recall from the 12 principles, if you recall from the 4 values, Agile prefers collaboration or negotiation, whereas procurement is all about negotiation. You're looking to put out a request for an RFP, request for proposal, and looking to get bids, and essentially working with numbers and cost, which I'll get to in a second. So those are the main functions that differ, and some don't have any similarities between project manager and Scrum Master. So that's why the red line here is low when it comes to that particular knowledge area. For procurement, I mentioned, but cost as well. Scrum Master does not manage a budget, whereas a project manager does. But they do understand the business value that's coming from the product owner, and that is marked on the user's stories. So another difference there is between the project manager, and they did highlight it quite a bit here, but from my own experience, I'd say probably less. Like, you wouldn't be estimating as a Scrum Master using time or money. You're using story points, which is from empirical evidence and from relative estimating. So that's a huge difference. And you could probably hear in your own work that when people try to evaluate the progress of a project, they're thinking in terms of a time scale, not within velocity or story point, if they're from the traditional organization, as opposed to an agile organization, which is considering velocity and burn down charts for releases, because they're not thinking in terms of money, because they know the money has already been invested. And when the money runs out, they just refill because there is profit coming in from that product. Lastly, interpersonal skills. In the next slide, we'll get a little bit more into the difference between a Scrum Master and a project manager in leadership. But for here, as far as the knowledge area goes, the project manager is building the team similar to how a Scrum Master builds a team. And from the HR motivational theories, that helps a project manager to keep the team engaged. So there's Maslow hierarchy of needs, but there's also the McClelland theory, which focuses on power, affiliation, and purpose as drivers for people to do anything. And so that's the knowledge that a PM will equip themselves with when trying to get people to get moving on a project. The Scrum Master will look for coaching opportunities to make it more personable and use some of the ceremonies to get people motivated. And this revolves around the retrospective, where you are looking to use a little bit more emotional intelligence and active listening to people who may be hinting that they have problems, but they may not feel comfortable in revealing it. So with the retrospective, with different types of techniques that you can use. So for one example, it's what went well, what went wrong, and some action items based off of that. There's a whole bunch, but that's the most common one that you could hear. That helps to drive that narrative and that open discussion for the team members to use. And it's not something that you would typically see throughout a traditional project. Our lessons learned at the end of the project is when the opportunity arrives to have that. In my own experience, sometimes that's a bit too late, because then the following project benefits from it, but sometimes the following project does not have the same similar pain points. So using a retrospective within a project and regularly enables people to get ahead of project problems that might balloon into big problems. So that's one technique within Agile and specifically Scrum that helps to work with people and on the interpersonal level. Okay, so getting into a bit more of that interpersonal level are the leadership traits. So I mentioned emotional intelligence, but if we look at how you approach people, there's a few things to note. So the traditional project manager is bureaucratic leadership. So you're essentially looking to enforce and have compliance. So you have your project management plans, and you don't want people to step outside of those parameters. And it's beneficial because decisions that need to be made quickly are made quickly. And so you have from this picture here, the project manager known as a driver, a decision maker, a controller, a communication hub, the central point of the project, and a translator. Whereas in Agile project management, it's a democratic process. There is a consensus on decision making, and you empower others by allowing them to lead. They have self-management. The benefit here is that the knowledge of the entire team is required instead of a central figure, and this helps foster high morale. The downside here is that you need a long time to build this up. So where traditional project management, if someone knows their stuff, decisions made quickly. If you're, as an example, in an emerging market, you don't really know what's going on, you need that time to build out the project. So that leads us to the end. And now I will pass it back to David to continue with the Go Retro. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Andrew. Okay, guys, let me share my screen so we can take a look at the Go Retro board. Okay. So I'm gonna share with you a link to the Go Retro board where the objective is. Give me 1 second. Here it is. Where the objective is to write down any question that you might have related to the topic that we are just discussing here. Let me place it in the chat. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Okay. I'm gonna place the link in the Zoom chat. Please go there and try to log into this bar where we can create and add cards related to the topic. If you have any question or if you want to clarify or expand a little bit more in any of the topics that Andrew talked just a few minutes ago, please let me know if you are able to access to the link. If not, if you have any issue, just let us know so we can help you trying to log in with the board. But it's like a straightforward process. You should be able to log in. Okay, we have Carlos is in the board. What about Rosanna, maybe? Kusei?
Yeah, I accessed it and writing my question. Thank you.
Okay. Yep. Probably we're going to spend 5 to 10 minutes writing the question. Probably 5 minutes writing the question. Then what we're gonna do is we're gonna vote through those questions depending if we have a long list. So let's take until 7:20. We have the first question there. I'm just gonna hide them for now. We have 2 questions there. Three more minutes to write your questions down. And of course, you can write more cards if you already have one on the board. feel free to add more if you want as well. Okay, so far we have 3 questions. Two minutes more, maybe. Yoglis or Radhika, Carlos, were you able to access the board and write the questions down? What about you, Rosanna?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was able to connect to Go Retro, but
Mhm.
I don't see the board. So I'm just trying now.
Yeah, so the board is called Agile Project Management.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay, so
yeah.
probably that's what I'm missing.
Yep. Last minute. Okay. So okay, we have some cards on the board. What I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna uncover these cards that you guys have written for us, and then please go ahead. We're just gonna spend 5 minutes more on this and read through the cards and vote on the card that you would like to discuss. We have 6 cards. So in this part of the session, we will try to go over those. If we need to more time, probably we can discuss this in the next point in the agenda, which are the breakout rooms. But for now, guys, go ahead and vote on this card. Let's take 5 minutes until 7:25, and then we can start with the actual discussion. You can vote for more than one, up to 5. You have 5 votes, so you can use them. Okay, we have 2 cards with 3 votes. Actually, 3 cards. Okay, I'm gonna start dragging the cards. Definitely, this one has 4, so we should talk about this one. How was your transition from a project manager to Scrum Master? What skills and experiences were new, different here? Okay, then we have 3 cars with 3 votes. 4 cars actually. Okay, I'm gonna start adding this one too. This one as well. This one as well. Oops, no, keep it. Let's try it again. Okay, and okay. Let's start maybe with these ones. And as you can see, speaking of Agile, what we have here is a Kanban board. We discussed about the very basic form, which was to do, doing, and done. And we have here the board adapted to our needs. So we have questions, most voting, discussing, and then completing. So speaking of Agile, this is how Kanban will look like. So, okay, I guess we can get started with the very first question, which has 4 votes. And then let me drag it to discussing. And just as a reminder, guys, this is an open space where we can share our experiences or your learnings from school or from your job, or you have read any book. So feel free to jump in and share your experience. We will be discussing around this topic. So the first one, as mentioned before, is how was your transition from a project manager to Scrum Master? What skills and experiences were new or different here? So I'm gonna open this question to you guys. Whoever wants to participate, please feel free to jump in, and let's start with the discussion. Who wants to be the first one? Any volunteer?
I think I can answer this one, having been previously a project manager and now a Scrum Master. So one of the appeals to Scrum was the awareness and the communication. So transitioning, the experience of being more aligned with what the team was doing was definitely beneficial in being able to be effective in a project. And in terms of skill sets, it was definitely a challenge to refrain from giving direction. As a project manager, you have your MS project plan and you have your rate items, and you're essentially chasing after people looking for deadlines or updates on deadlines or percentage completes on your MS project. And when you're in a status meeting, you're essentially calling out people and going down your list of items and saying, is this done? When can you do this? And talking a lot more. Going into Scrum, I had to silence myself a lot more and allow the team the opportunity to self-manage themselves. And in an organization itself that's transforming from that traditional project management methodology, there's some learning curve there as well, without having to depend on someone to go through a list and tell you what to do, and instead to self-organize yourself and to collaborate and contribute on a regular basis on the planning. So that's definitely the biggest difference and the experience that I went through. And the challenge was in terms of leadership. And one of the slides that was in the presentation calls it out, the shift from a bureaucratic leader to a democratic leader.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew, for that input. Anyone else would like to add something, or probably make another question related to the same topic, or expand more?
Quick follow-up. Yes, thank you, Andrew. So does this also mean that, from the typical business analyst role in the waterfall to agile team, there needs to be a transition in the team's behavior and attitude as well.
Yeah, absolutely. The values kind of highlight, the four values highlight the emphasis on the collaboration, or on less reliance on documentation before you get started and start building something, for example, and on the emphasis on the working software as opposed to going through red tape, as they say, or getting approvals just to do an action. So that shift in mindset is a lot more free and takes some time to get used to, in that you are empowered to make these decisions first off, and kind of not waiting around for someone to give you that approval.
Got it. So instead of just giving the statuses in meetings, be more self-organized as a team. Got it.
Can I add something over here, please?
Yeah, please. Yeah, Radhika, go ahead.
I have also been part of, transitioning not just from a role, but from an organizational mindset as well, moving from waterfall to agile. One difference that I noticed as a project manager slash scrum master was that there were definitely more interactions when we were delivering agile based projects. And the second thing was tangible outcomes were visible quickly, since we used to run sprints of 2 weeks. So you could see the outcome at a product level, at a MVP level quickly. And last but not the least, you had to be very cognizant of your the way you were scheduling your meetings, since you used to have daily touch-ups for 15 minutes only. So you have to be very focused that what you are going to ask and how are you going to document the outcome of those discussions. So these were my top 3 takeaways when I experienced that transition. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Radhika, and as well for Pratik and Andrew. All that you say, guys, also makes a point on the presentations that Andrew built for us and we discussed earlier, and ties back to the values of Agile. You guys mentioned some words about having the mindset, or self-organized teams, or going back to them soon, going early to the market. So all those are like Agile values that in somehow Andrew touched based on that. So thank you guys for those inputs.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I guess we can mark this car as completed. I'm not sure. I'm not able to see how who's the owner of this car. Guys, who okay, that was Pratik. Okay, so Pratik, how do you feel about this car? Did we answer your question, or do you want to elaborate more on this? Or
no, great discussions. Thanks.
Okay.
Answer.
Okay, sounds good. So I'm gonna move this car as completed. And then let's take a look at the next one, which is when product vision and features are well defined, can it still be advantageous to use Agile? That's a good question. Basically, we're doing a comparison between Agile project management or traditional project management. So who wants to share any thoughts here or any experience? Any volunteer? Kusei, do you want to give it a try?
So I've come up with this question. So why I came up with this was that in the slides we had the triple constraints, and that's where I wondered if the features are well defined and they're not variable but kind of fixed, what happens to that triple constraint, I wonder. And to make it a question, I just wonder if it's well defined, is it still good to use the Agile, or should we use the waterfall, because there the features are fixed. So that's why I wondered this question.
Yeah, Yeah, that's a really good question, and yeah, that's one of the criterias that when a project manager or a scrum master decides, or even the company, because this might be a decision at the company level, at the PMO level, whether going to agile or traditional project management. And I'm gonna use a um, here the reference that you made Kusei, which is yeah. So if we have the vision clear, if we have the product that we want to build clear, for instance, if we want to build a house, like a 2-floor house, probably that's something that has been done like for many years, like I mean in the industry, like people know how to do that, like there are processes in place, probably okay at the detail level or the color of the house or some components that might change, but like the structure of the house is going to be the same, as long as it's like a 2-floor house or something like that. The structure is going to be the same. Some requirements are clear up front, and everything is clear for the PM of that case. So in that specific case, yeah, so maybe going to a traditional project management is the best decision, because we know how the final product looks like. We can define that, and that's the product vision is clear, and we have some features well defined upfront. So, but what will happen in the other case when, for instance, this is typical not only for software development, but this is where we can see more clear. But what about if the client says, I want a website that is secure, that is user friendly, or something like that? So we don't have like a clear vision. User friendly for me, or a nice website for me, could be having uh, dark colors, black or something like that. That'll be nice for me. But for the client, that might not be nice. That not might be a good product. So in that case, we need to build in iterations and in increments, so we can validate what we are doing is right or is wrong. Because at the end, we don't know. We just have this broad vision, but we don't have like a clear path to follow. So we need to validate if we are in the right path with the client. So to summarize what I said, to decide whether agile or traditional will be like how's the final product look like? Like, do we know how it will look? If we know, let's go for probably for traditional. If we do not know, let's go for agile. So that's from my side. Maybe anyone else wants to add something else or share something?
Yeah, this is Carlos here.
Yeah, Carlos.
Yeah, in my opinion, the advantages of using Agile are more than just having a clear vision of the product. I mean, if you have a clear vision of what do you want as a product, is fantastic. It leaves the doors open for any methodology. But still you can use Agile. I mean, Agile is more than, I will use the word methodology, it's not, but it's more than a methodology that when you are not clear about your goals, is wider than that.
The mindset.
So, I mean, the decision of using one or another is more based on those triangles that we were looking at the beginning of the presentation about the objectives, budget, and scheduling, etc. More than based on if you are clear about the what do you want to construct or in this case create. So summarizing, I think you can still use Agile, even if your product is clear. If it's clear, it's fantastic. It's going to make the task easier for everyone, but it's not a restriction to use Agile.
Yeah. Thank you, Carlos. That's a really good point that you make there. So having in mind that either agile methodologies or traditional methodologies are not like a list of to-do things that you must follow within your project or organization, but is like a best practices that you as a project manager or as the company, you will decide whether to use or not, or what to use, what to implement. So in that sense, we also have hybrid methods, which combine traditional and waterfall methodologies, or hybrid methods that combine within an agile framework that combine like Scrum, Kanban, Stream programming. They pick some of each framework and then combine and they make their own methodology for the project or the company. Have in mind that not all the projects are the same. By definition, they are unique endeavors, right? So just to add that, probably anyone else that wants to add something else or could say what probably do you want a follow-up question on this or?
Like overall, like thank you, David and Carlos. Like I have like a more clearer idea about those frameworks and like when to use agile and like the relation with the like product vision. But it's still good to know that like it's still not the mandatory to use, even though the like there's a clear vision or not. And also I also wonder, as a like follow-up, if I can, like in those like hybrid frameworks, it's still probably like changes projects to project, but like is there like general idea about, okay, if you're doing a hybrid framework, you should take those aspects from agile methodology and those aspects from waterfall? Like, is there like a general common sense, or it's all dependent on like project to project and like then designing the hybrid version of those?
So I can offer
Yep.
a response here. So when approaching with a hybrid, I think where the two worlds, the best of two worlds meet is the upfront planning on traditional project management, but utilizing the agile practices of consensus, so that you're not just making decisions, but revisiting decisions. For example, or utilizing retrospective. So instead of waiting until the end of a project, you can get that feedback loop from the team early and consistently, or from if it was a matter of scope, having the opportunity to keep the scope open instead of finalized, and maybe relying on less red tape to expedite in the organization. So you want to combine the flattening of a hierarchy to allow for communication to be a lot more better understood instead of going through chains of command, for example. You want to have the team being able to have the opportunity to get feedback loops in, and it's just the iterations. You may have one final release at the end, but if you build out prototypes or you're able to get clients to come in and give feedback earlier on, those early feedback loops are from Agile, but you can plan well in advance and have the set scope to then carry out in the project.
Okay, Andrew. Yeah, thank you very much.
I would like
Yep.
to
Go ahead.
like to add something. I think the hybrid model is a good complement to the question number one, the one that is completed already. Mm-hmm. What's happening with that is really what companies needs for their daily, I will say daily management, because what's going on today in the companies, most of the companies are talking about Agile. They are trying to push the organizations to do Agile practices. But in the regular management, day-to-day management, they are still asking for, okay, show me how we are doing with the budget, show me the scheduling, show me the Gantt. You know, they are very traditional, and they are trying to add this new methodology to execute the projects. So this hybrid model is giving the opportunity to execute the project using Agile, which we know all the advantages of that method. But from the from the site to the company to about how to communicate the status of the project. We can use the old methodology because they need that. This is the way they run the business. They want to see the ROI, they want to see the budget, they want to see how much they are spending. And in that way, Agile is kind of loose with that information. So that's a perfect balance with the old methodology and the new way to execute the project. So that's has been in my experience.
Yeah, thank you, Carlos.
Yeah, that's very interesting, Carlos. And actually, yeah, that also touch upon the next card, which is related to scale agile and how organizations transform to an agile environment. So before going to that, could say for this card, do you feel okay with the answer or?
Yes, totally. Thank
Okay,
you very much.
okay. So let's mark as completed, and probably let's start discussing about the next one, which Carlos started a little bit. So, which is what are the challenges in scaling an agile framework and how to overcome those? So, probably Carlos, do you want to keep elaborating on this one, since you mentioned that the importance of organizations trying to get into agile, but however they're still asking for Gantt charts or management aspects. So yeah, I have experienced that in my previous jobs. So, but I would like to hear your experience, Carlos, as well.
Yeah. Well, like Andrew mentioned at the beginning, it's not an easy transition from one role to the other. I think for somebody who have experience as a traditional project manager, it's kind of difficult to move 100% to a Scrum Master. So you are always moving in both worlds. So you are wearing a hat as a project manager to communicate to the management, to the high levels in the company. And next day you're wearing your Scrum Master hat to deal with the teams, right? This is something for people who have experience in, especially in the project management world, and had also responsibilities with the stakeholders in the company. But there are also some people who is 100% pure Scrum Master, who depending of the organization actually. So in my case, according to the as per the question, challenges in scaling, the projects I have been dealing with mostly have been hybrid. I have been wearing both hats. I think it's difficult for me in particular to be 100% an agile and a Scrum Master and only took those responsibilities and leave the other ones outside of my role.
Yeah, definitely. It's not an easy journey, whether moving from traditional to agile or scaling in agile. So I don't know. Maybe Andrew, you might have some experience from TD, maybe on scale agile, maybe that you want to share with us.
Yeah, TD's actually now moving into a scaled agile organization format and rolling out with several divisions at a time. And I think RBC in the past few years has gone through that journey as well as other organizations throughout the globe. And so going from your pod and being a Scrum Master to then incorporating a bigger size organization where you have divisions and, as mentioned, you will have fiscal budgets and more of a traditional style, because no company is 7 people big. You're going to have hundreds of people. And in order for that size, you need to have structure, you need to have rigidity, which goes against the agile principles of self-management and self-empowerment, you're going to have managers. And they're going to have managers, and so the hierarchy appears, and then that slows down communication. That adds the bureaucracy. The challenge there would be, well, there's a few of them. So I'll name just a couple. So the money is probably the biggest one. You can't really have people sign off and give you money on promises or on things that you'd like to do on a product vision. You want to have some kind of return on investment that is forecasting and forecasting using money and time, not on story points. So business value is one aspect that is being taught in terms of how to appreciate what's being built before you can hit return on investment. Value streams instead of department budgets is another way that requires the business architecture to be rebuilt in that a department with a set of employees who have specific roles will have X amount of money to hire and maintain a roster, whereas if you change to an agile or scaled financial architecture, you're having, let's say, a wallet for a product. And let's say our product is software. And so you have for a given time, a given release, let's say half of a year, X amount of dollars, and you just spend it all from that time, expecting that whatever you're creating new in those short increments is going to generate more profits and then refill the wallet. And so as your levels of expense bring the money down, because you're frequently releasing, you're bringing profits in to maintain that wallet. And so it's focused around the product as opposed to a department. But then, of course, you need to keep the lights open. So there are auxiliary departments around that product that also need to be supported. And so that's where you kind of get into your DevOps, where you have operations and administrative work along with the product innovation itself. And then lastly, the challenge is if you're trying to get multiple pods to align with your release planning, that in itself will require a decision-making because if you're Oracle and you have a software suite with different services for different types of customers for your databases, or if you're the Rogers Center and you're hosting events for different types of audiences, who do you schedule in for the summertime when everyone wants to be there in the summertime? And what if one person is saying, I can bring you this many ticket sales, or I'm going to have this many clients register for your product over another product owner. And so vying in for that time is a challenge as well.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Andrew, for sharing that with the team. You have something interesting there. Maybe guys, do you want to discuss something else on this car? I'm not sure who's the owner of the car. Pratik, how do you feel about the car? Do you have any follow-up question on that or any comment?
No, I think no, we got good insights. Thank you, guys. Thanks, Ron.
Yeah. Okay, sounds good. So, okay, let me move.
Hey, David.
Yep.
Hello.
Yep. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I think that we can complete the card, but I think the biggest challenge for that question is in the organization. So I'm wondering, like there is a manifesto document for Agile. Do you guys know if there is something similar for preparing organizations for an Agile best practices? Because everybody at the organization level is talking about implementing Agile in their organization. You just mentioned TD. But I don't know if there is a good guidance to teach or to guide the organizations about how to organize themselves for this new methodology. I will use the word again. Because again, for them is the biggest change. It's not for development or for executing the project. That's one part only. So all the topics related with budget management, bidding projects, hiring consulting companies, and all the hiring process in general, everything is going to be changed with this new way to see the project. I remember, I remember years ago, I had a conversation with a couple guys who had a small development company, and they were complaining because every time they were trying to participate in a project, presenting offerings, proposals, the biggest challenge for them was the companies, because the companies were asking, okay, I need this product in 9 months for this amount of money. And they say, I can't promise that. I'm not able to promise that because my methodology is not based on money. So it's more progressive. So, well, I remember I told them, this is the business world. This is the way the business works today. So companies have a plan for budget 1 year ahead. So they know exactly how much money they have to obtain their products, their products. So they have to be a balance in the way how they work, the company work, and how you are proposing your project. So it's a good challenge for companies who are 100% agile today, or they are trying to sell their products, trying to match that with traditional companies.
Well said. I added in the chat the link to Scaled Agile Framework for anyone interested in doing a little bit of reading on that.
Oh, that's cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's great. And also, I know that PMI is also just launching a bunch of Agile certifications. Well, some of them there existed like time ago, but PMI is grouping those certifications in it's called Discipline Agile, and I'm sure there are also guidelines and certifications around the Scale framework. So so yeah, if you are interested, go to the PMI site, and you definitely will find more information on that. So okay, for now I believe we're going to stop on the Go Retro board, since we are almost at the end of our meeting. So let me probably move to the final slides, which are the PDUs. If you are already a PM, or you have any other certification from the PMI that might need PDUs, you can claim those because you attended here. So to do that, you just go to the PMI site, to the learning. You have to log in into your PMI account, and then you will go to report PDUs on my PM. Then at the bottom, you will go to informal learning. Then what you need to input there: Latin Program Management is the organization group, Latin Program Management Network, and then the course is Program Management Discussion. This session is Agile Program Management. The name or the person in charge is, or the contact person is Jaime Gonzalez. The contact email is board@lpmn.ca. And if you need more this information later, just pin us. We will send you and the date, today date, and probably then the triangle in the PDUs that you are claiming for is the technical site. So then you'll be able to claim 1.5 PDUs towards renewing your PMI certification. And then probably finally, we have a survey here. We believe in continuous improvement, so this will help us to improve these sessions, or just to hear from you guys, I'm gonna post the link in the chat. Where did it go? Maybe where is it? Hold on. Okay, here is. Maybe Andrew, can you help me posting the link into the chat? So yeah, whenever you have time, guys, please take a look at the survey. This will help us to move to keep improving on these sessions. And finally, we have some links for you guys. If you haven't already followed us on LinkedIn, on Unstoppable Me, and the Latin Project Management Network website. So, and as a final reminder, next session will be on April 6th about risk management. So if you are interested in this topic, sign in and join us next Tuesday. So that's it for the final of the session. I hope, guys, you had a good time and you learned a bit from the rest of the team. So before closing this, maybe is there any question that or comment that you want to say, or otherwise we can close this session. Okay. It
Thank
seems
you.
that everything is good. Okay,
Thank you,
guys.
everyone.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you,
So
everyone.
much. Have
Thank
a good
you.
one, guys.
See you. Thank
Have
you,
a good
guys.
night.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you,
Bye, guys.
everybody.
Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.